Saturday. My name is Kit Kat. I'm the general manager of Finessed Media, and we're super excited to see you all. So just to get us started, we're going to go around the room getting to chat with some of y'all because this is just as much about you that it is about Janishia, music publishing, and everything in between. So if I call on you, feel free to unmute yourself, introduce yourself. Where are you from? What do you do? And let's see. What's your go-to hype song right now? That's one of my favorites. So let's see. Leani, good morning. Good morning. Want to introduce yourself? You're still muted right now.
Yes. Yes, ma'am. Hello, Kit Kat. Hello, everyone. Happy Saturday.
Happy Saturday.
Yes. So I guess I will lead with, I am an artist manager intern for Red Lipstick Media. I help TT, the manager, if she's in the chat. There's some events in NorCal and LA. Speaking of, we do have a foam party tonight in Lakeport. So that's happening all day today, I think starting at 2, but there's definitely more to come soon. Otherwise, I have like a lot of years in customer service, from data acquisition to Disney to helping being an executive assistant to Wood. Just get to know me later. Otherwise, my biggest hype song right now is from Demi Lovato's new album.
Nice.
It's just the whole, or I don't know, I guess I'm just really in love with her rock version of Heart Attack. I saw her live performance recently, and it, like, I used to not like that song, and it turned me like from not a fan to like a fan. Like, okay, now like she's got my attention now for sure.
Yeah,
so
absolutely. Well, super excited to have you back. Leani is amazing. So everyone connect with her. Cool.
Thanks.
Let's see who else is in the room. Shada, am I pronouncing your name correctly? Do you want to introduce yourself?
Shaida, that's my daughter.
Shaida, yes.
Hi, I'm Shaida. I'm from Decatur, Georgia, but I live in Atlanta. Goodness. So right now I'm doing marketing, freelance marketing. My first artist, whose name is Ace Apollo. But other than that, I'm excited to be here. I was at the last one, so I'm trying to make it as possible. And my hype song right now is probably Calvin Harris and 21 Savage, New Money. But I really love the whole volume 2, so that's my thing.
Nice. Well, we're super excited to have you back on. Kingston, I just saw you mute yourself, but do you want to mute yourself again and introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Kingston. I'm a singer-songwriter from Los Angeles, and I've been I'm so grateful for these Finesse Media Zoom events. It's been, oh my God, just, I don't know, 2 years, maybe 2.5. I don't know, something like that.
Kingston, you've been here longer than I've been here.
No.
Cool.
Those aren't great.
Do you have
by
any
the
shows
way.
coming up?
Oh, I do. I have a show at the Viper Room Lounge on September 10th, Saturday. I go on at 10:30. So all you LA folk, including you, Kit Kat, come on down.
Yes, absolutely. LA, let's go. I will definitely try to make it. Well, everyone say hey to Kingston. Adora, am I pronouncing your name correctly? Do you want to introduce yourself? Say hey.
Yeah. So my name is Adora. Hey, everyone. I am currently in Brentwood, California, so like close to Antioch. My job, I do sales marketing for a tech company, but my other job, my real job, I'm an artist, musician. I love making music. And I guess my hype song is from Doechie's latest EP. It's Swamp Bitches. I don't know if it's I can't say bitches, but it's with Weaker Nasty. But yeah, I love that song, and that gets me hype all the time.
Nice. Is this your first Finessed event?
I went to one, but literally maybe 5 months ago. But now I'm trying to
got you.
So I signed up for them, and sometimes I can't go. But it's my first actual one where I'm present.
Nice. Well, super excited to have your presence with us. Awesome. Happy Saturday. Let's see. We'll say hey to a couple more people. Let's see. Miriam, we connected over Instagram. Want to say hey?
Hi, my name is Miriam. It's nice to be here. It's my first Finesse Media event, so I'm really excited. I'm actually based in Toronto, Canada, and I'm a full-time student in marketing, but I also have a part-time job as a ticket agent at like MLSE, which is one of the biggest like and entertainment companies in Toronto. So I recently like got to see Harry Styles at Scotiabank Arena, so that was like really fun. Um, and yeah, I'm just really excited. I guess my hype song right now, it's like one of my favorite songs, but it's not one that recently came out. It's called My Ex's Best Friend by Machine Gun Kelly. Like something about that song just always gets me going. And whenever I'm like in a like bad mood or anything, like I just hear that song and it just gets me really, really hyped. So I would recommend you
Nice.
listen to that one if you haven't already.
I have listened to that song when I'm driving down and just like trying to get it out. I feel that. So it's definitely a good hype song. Lottie says, Miriam tell Drake that she loves him. So next time you see Drake, make sure to let him
I
know.
definitely
Okay?
will. If I
Cool.
ever see him, yeah.
Awesome. All right, we'll say hey to one more person. 221 Cash, want to say hey?
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hey, what's up, everybody? My name's Cash. I'm a producer, artist, based in LA. We connected through Instagram,
Mhm.
but I've been following Finesse Media for a little while. And I think this is like my third event. So I'm kind of just here to, support the ladies, support music, and kind of just network, and, always just learn. And, hopefully I can connect with some more people through here, artists, producers, management,
Mhm.
whatever you do. I'm just looking to connect with people. So I appreciate you guys continually throwing these events, because they're beneficial. So I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, happy to have you back. And we do have a contact sheet that we have every single weekend. So you can definitely connect with each other through that, introduce yourself that way. A great place to just say hey. Phyllis,
Okay.
I hope that your internet connection gets stronger. I feel that. Sometimes I have wonky Wi-Fi. But with all of that, we're going to start off. So, hey everyone, my name is Kit Kat. I'm the general manager for Finessed Media. Super excited to be here with you all. And just as a little rundown about what we're doing, we'll start off with a nice conversation with our lovely guest speaker, Janishia, who I'll introduce in 1 second. And then we'll have an audience Q&A where you can ask her your questions directly to her. So to introduce Janishia, I want to say, hey, I want to wave hello. Janishia is the director of systems integration and operations at Empire. She's been in the music industry for over a decade at this point. She is the pub royalty queen, so extensive background in that, and is a great advocate for BIPOC creatives, music industry professionals, and so on and so forth. So a very quick rundown. Janishia, want to quickly introduce yourself as well?
Sure. Thanks, Kit Kat, and thanks everyone for the invitation to be here today. I'm just really honored and always willing to meet and network with people that are aspiring to be in the music industry. And I am a resource as someone who's been on the operational side of the music industry for the past 10 years. So, feel free to hit me up with your questions. I also do consulting. So is this where I get to tell a little bit about myself?
Yeah. So, I mean, I wanted to really dive into your background and then how you got into music publishing and what even is music publishing.
Okay, so sure. Well, first of all, I'm originally from New Jersey, and I'm a classically trained musician, singer-songwriter. So by the time I was 16 years old, I had already learned how to publish my own music. I was actually promoting myself as an artist, but decided to go to school to learn more about the industry because at the time we were moving from physical to digital sales. And so there was like a bit of an uncertainty about where the industry was headed. So I learned as much as I could. I went and earned my associates in recording arts, my bachelor's in music business, and my master's in entertainment business from Full Sail University. And then interned for SRC, Loud, and Motown Records as a marketing intern. I decided to start my own artist services platform called Broken Records, to allow do-it-yourself artists to implement services based on their budget and needs. At the time, there was a bit of a miseducation about what it means to invest in yourself as an artist, which now is kind of like par for the course of being in the music industry, is investing in yourself first. But with all that said, I entered into the music industry, working for a boutique music publishing firm in New York City called Memory Lane Music Group, where their catalog consisted of standards like What a Wonderful World and Santa Claus is Coming to Town. I then went on to work for E1, formerly Koch Records, where I handled mechanical licensing and copyright administration for some of the most revered labels like Death Row Records and Bad Boy Entertainment and Aftermath, and just about every urban label you could think of was under that umbrella. Then I went on to work for Cobalt Music Publishing as their sole sync income tracking manager, where I handled about a third of the business income from the US, Canadian, and Latin American territories. Cobalt Music Publishing is one of the largest music publishing companies in the world. So I was able to work under who is now the Chief Experience Officer, and learning how those operations, the infrastructure of those operations across the world, and helping the development team streamline their income tracking processes. And then that moved me to now working with Empire as their Director of Systems Integration and Operations, where I'm building the publishing system along with the CEO and Chief Product Officer. So that's the experience that I have in music publishing. In terms of what is music publishing, it is representing songwriters, producers, the creators of music, and how the ownership of their copyrights are licensed across the world. So you have label services or distribution that handles mechanical licensing, meaning where the music is being accessed, like streaming platforms, distribution platforms, things like Apple Music, Spotify, Tidal. That's all mechanical licensing. And then you have the copyright that is being licensed for performance royalties, things that you hear in the public, for instance, how the public consumes the music. So television, video games, commercials, film, merchandise that need music synced to it. There's so many different avenues of theater. So anytime that the public is hearing the music, they need to license it from a publisher, and the publisher catalog of the music from writers and producers or creators.
Got it. So just bringing it down again. So you have distribution and then you have publishing as two different sides of that. Okay, cool. And so I was recently reading an article from Billboard that spoke with 8 different independent artists and how they monetize to stay independent. And I know a lot of the folks in the room are independent artists, teams for independent artists. And so one of the monetization tips that they provided was music publishing and music publishing deals. Can you break down what a publishing deal is and any tips that you have for artists to get signed?
Okay, so there are a number of, there aren't as many publishing deal types as there are record deal types. So that kind of narrows it down. You've got an admin deal in which a publishing entity will take control of the licensing aspect of your music and collect royalties from various different sources on your behalf. And in order to provide the service to you, they don't own your copyright like a record deal might or record label might, but they will commission, they'll basically take a commission for the services that they're providing. So an admin deal is when a publisher will provide a service in licensing and collecting royalties for your copyright, and then they will take a commission off of those royalties until your contract is terminated.
Okay,
and
gotcha.
Then, what was the other question that was part of that?
Oh, any tips or tricks for artists in the room who might want to get a publishing deal?
Oh, okay. I would say content is key. When a publishing company is looking to work with a client, a lot of times they'll look at your full catalog to see if there's enough there to be investing into, how much income you're currently bringing in, because some people already have publishing and or registering their music with the performance rights organizations or have some kind of affiliation, but they don't have the time or the resources to really expand their catalog for opportunities. So they'll hire a publishing company to do that. So you want to make sure you have enough in your catalog. You want to make sure that you're doing your due diligence and collecting splits so that you can properly record your royalties from these societies. And you want to also do as much collaboration as possible, because, you know, if your catalog, if you're an emerging songwriter or producer, you may not have enough within your catalog to really make anything move. So you want to just cross collaborate and make sure that the people that you're working with are also, you know, doing their due diligence when they're creating their music and you're a part of those projects. So I would say it's about collaboration, collecting your splits when you're recording, and then, you know, doing the due diligence as far as researching what opportunities are out there. And just from my own personal experience working in the sync world and, you know, pulling in income from that revenue stream, I would implore songwriters and producers to keep in mind the types of projects that they would want to hear their music in, right? So let's say your favorite show, listen to the kinds of music that are being synced there and start to, you know, create music that's aligned with those types of projects, because there's a lot of money in the licensing side, sync licensing. So that's what I would offer to that.
Got it. And we had a follow-up question. When it comes to splits, how much do you split with a producer if they make a custom beat? Do you have any recommendations for that? Is that even
so splits? So with the producer, it's with any of the creators of the music, the splits are determined between the creators, not the publishing entity. So let's start there. If you're the creator of the music, you know, if there's only two of you in the room, obviously that's a pretty easy 50-50 split. But you also just want to think about how much each person is contributing to the song and negotiate amongst yourselves how much each person contributed, and that would be your split. Now, if you're talking about how much a publishing company should take, there is a standard amount that ranges between 15 and 20% of a commission that they'll take if it's an admin deal. And that is pretty standard. So if you have leverage, if you have an extensive catalog, if you're someone who's, you know, been doing a lot of the work, you are able to negotiate for a lower commission. Whereas if you're someone that's just emerging and you really need the platform to help exploit your music, you know, then this is where you would have to kind of bite the bullet, and they would take a higher commission off of your off the service. So that's
gotcha. Now, again, y'all are hearing from someone that's been in publishing for a very long time. Does that all make sense, everyone? Give me a thumbs up if we're understanding it. Okay, cool. Awesome. And so from here, we actually had a question pop into Finessed Media's account that I thought was really relevant to this conversation. So artists who want to submit music for a deal, how can they submit a demo without necessarily, while protecting themselves and ensuring that they don't get their music stolen? Is there anything that they can do on the publishing side in order to protect themselves?
So if you're protecting the content of your music, you want to always register your music with the Copyright Office of the government. I'm sorry, I know that the audio is going in and out, so let me just. All right, so hopefully this is a little bit better. If it's not, I apologize.
I can hear you okay. Is everyone else able to hear Janishia okay? Okay.
Okay,
awesome.
Thank you. So you want to register your music with the Copyright Office. That protects the contents of your music. And say, for instance, anyone wants to use the recording for sampling or derivative works, it's important to make sure that you're submitting it with the government. And that's copyright.gov that allows you to do that. You do have to pay a fee, but it's worth it to maintain the integrity and the ownership of your music. If you're talking about someone wanting to license your music for rights, or you want someone to know that you created the music as a songwriter and producer, then you would affiliate with a performance rights organization, PRO, like BMI, ASCAP, CSAC, and depending on where you are in the world, it could be SIMRA, it could be SOCAN, it could be GAMA, PRS. And these organizations allow you to enter your contribution to the song and will allow others in the public to research that information if they want to use it. And that is another form of protection, but it's even more so about you being able to receive royalties for the use of your music. So those are the two ways that you can protect yourself and the contents of your music.
Got it. And I put copyright.gov in the chat, but I'm sure Abby will also put it on the contact sheet. So if you need to go back to any of those resources, feel free to go to the contact sheet. Becky Park asks, one second, I just saw the question. When is it a good time to put into copyright, as building a catalog can get expensive?
Once you know that you're about to release it, I would think that would be the best time. If you have a release date, do it synonymously with your entering your copyright registration.
Nice.
As soon as possible.
As soon as possible, just cover your grounds. Yes, yes. And so, Janishia, going back more about you, you have extensive experience as the pub royalty queen, right? You have extensive experience in publishing and, becoming, you told me a little bit about your journey becoming the director of systems integrations and operations. So, Janishia, how does one get into that sort of position, one of the best companies in the world?
Well, I think, so I don't have a tech background. So that's one of the questions I usually get with, how did you end up building systems for a living? I have knowledge about computer systems, but I didn't go to school for computer science. I wasn't really necessarily interested in building systems, but when you have an expertise in a lane in the music industry, like publishing, that is very nuanced and pretty much a shadowy place that most people tend not to be in, it gives you a competitive advantage. So I was lucky to have the experience of working from the smaller to major music publishing corporations and having an understanding of the operational side from the copyright, administrative, artist development, legal. I've had all of that as a background. So it gave me the opportunity to be an expert and show what needed to be there or what was missing in our system at Empire. And, for me, I was lucky in that my boss, the CEO, Ghazi Shami, saw that I had this ability, and from my experience, was able to see the talent that I had and offered me the space to show and prove. I feel like that's rare in the music industry. You're often being put in the box and being the expectation of this is your job and that's what you do day to day. But I was lucky enough to work with someone who's cut from the same cloth. He also has that music tech background. He also built his system from the ground up. So, having that entrepreneurial mindset, we were able to, he was able to give me the opportunity to build something for him. And now that's a legacy for the business.
Absolutely. So knowledge and then knowing your strengths in your other skill sets for all of our music industry professionals that want to continue diving into it. And also, Janishia, you starting off as a classical musician and an artist yourself, taking those backgrounds and knowing the creative element, you can use that as a skill set in this sort of space as well.
Definitely. And I, as an artist, I feel like having the ability to relate and empathize with the creator gives me the opportunity to advocate for them as well, because this is an industry that a lot of people feel is methodical or formalized, especially in the digital age. But what my boss always tells me, even as a data scientist, I deal with numbers all day long and I analyze information, but he says you have to leave room for the magic. Everything cannot be, you can predict things with numbers, you can have the best expectations, but you never know. Music is an intrinsic thing. It's something that you feel from within. So you never know what's going to be that next thing that resonates with an audience. And so numbers don't lie, but at the same time, it cannot be the end all be all for every situation. So having that artistic and creative mind does give me an opportunity to think outside the box.
Absolutely. And so obviously, you're in this incredible position. You have background as a creative, you have a background in the music business side of things. Now, being a woman of color leading a company like Empire, I know I'm really inspired by you and excited to learn more about all of this. So can you talk more about some of your other ventures? I know you have Fresh and Sassy, you have The Seat, like you're doing everything.
So I gotta say that this year has been a tremendous year for me because it gave me the space to really live in my truth. And being a woman of color in a leadership role in data science, being a data scientist and an publishing, it makes me an anomaly. So it can be a very lonely place to be. I feel like I'm on an island by myself sometimes. So in order to expand that, I created Fresh and Sassy Productions, which is an ecosystem of safe spaces for women of color in the music industry. And at the top of this year, I started a podcast called Pub Royalty Queen Podcast, where now I've interviewed over 20 women of color music industry professionals about their challenges within the music business, navigating white male-dominated spaces. And there are nuances that we face, from being gaslit or being underpaid and overworked and not really being able to sit with your accomplishments, because this business is very like you're done with one project onto the next. You don't really get a chance to sit down with your accomplishments. So this was an opportunity for me to give my colleagues, my peers, their roses. And now with the season 3, we're launching this fall with a panel of men and women to kind of bridge that gap and have a larger conversation about what it's like working with and for women of color executives, and how we can advocate across the table instead of just from one side's perspective. So look out for that. That's Pub Royalty Queen Podcast. This year, I was also the first to conduct an data research analysis on intersectionality within the music industry. It's called A Seat at the Table, and I was presenting it this year in Nashville at the Music Biz Conference, which is an international stage for music industry trends and moving the needle forward. And with this information, it gave deep insight into the nuances that are faced at the intersection of race and gender, and from a statistical point of view. So the podcast gave anecdotal representation of the way people are, navigating the music space. But then the statistics, the data research gave legitimized those points of view. And we're at a point right now in the music industry where this insight is of utmost importance. We're like post the 2020 Black Lives Matter movement. And these companies are starting to realize that, hey, the top streamed music and genres are from the Black experience. We need to have more people, diverse perspectives in our boardrooms to drive these narratives. But we don't know how to reach these people because for so long, the gatekeepers have not been people that, have those experiences. So the statistics give them information about us. It gives them an opportunity to see why it's important to invest in Black and Brown talent. And I mean, if there was any case study that would show why that's important, it's this recent AI situation that happened where they had to pull an artist, an AI, artificial intelligence artist from their roster because it was tone deaf essentially, and people didn't, connect with the artist because of the content that was being created there. So that's a seat at the table market research agency. I'm also doing a lot of consulting around that as well to help drive more equitable opportunities for people of color. As a response to that, some of these corporations have reached out to me wanting to hire more people of color. They're like, hey, we love that you have this network. How do we tap into that? Okay, me and my business partners are, we've launched The Seat, which is a professional networking platform and executive search service so that we can connect diverse perspectives and qualified individuals to these senior leadership roles within the music industry. So now the industry doesn't have an excuse to say we don't know where these people are. It's okay, this is where they are. So be intentional about hiring us so we can drive our own narratives and stories. So that's The Seat. Finally, I recently launched Joint Foundation, which is a nonprofit organization to provide resources for women of color in the music industry via scholarships, grants, and access to music biz related events. As a woman of color, I feel like we're the culture creators of the world. And yet we don't have the access into the music industry, which is a very privileged place to work. And so this is an avenue to offer philanthropy and to provide resources to those under, that are disenfranchised.
Amazing. And so I know everyone's asking for all of these resources. Abby, if you can continue keeping that contact sheet updated with all of this, that would be incredible. Thank you. Thank you. And so now that we know how diverse your experiences are and how you've tapped into basically every sector of the music industry, from music industry professionals to the artists to executives, you're really in every space. Where would you like to see some of these ventures grow next?
Well, I'm doing this because I want to transform the industry from the inside out. I feel like I went to Egypt this year at the top of the year with my family. And what I experienced when I went there was that we just have something within us that makes us special and that cannot be duplicated. And it's effortless. Once we've tapped into that key within us, we're able to expand it and be the best that we can be in societies that don't necessarily cater to us. So I feel like the best thing that anyone could do for themselves in the music industry or otherwise is to really tap into the thing that makes you unique and special. Like tap into the thing that gives you the creative prowess, that feeds you, that fuels your soul, and invest in that. We get so caught up in the day-to-day routine of building other people's dreams, and yet we don't give ourselves the space to see the best in us. And so really just believe in yourself. I didn't have all the resources in the world, but I did have support. Just use the tools you have around you, create something meaningful. And I think that that's intrinsic within us. It's not even something that we have to look outside of ourselves for. I don't know if that answered your question or not, but I just felt like
it answered it beautifully. Answered it beautifully. And I see everyone in the chat saying that they've been inspired by this. It's empowering. So we all needed this as folks of color ourselves. And so I know that you provided an abundance of resources that you're connected with. Can you suggest any other resources for BIPOC folks in developing their careers or their artistry? Anything else that you can provide?
Yeah, I mean, some of the tips that I give to artists, first of all, know what your story is, okay? No one lives a perfect life. Um, everyone has their own unique, everyone has their own unique challenges, things that they're having to overcome, and that is part of your story. This life is a journey. There's the ebbs and flows, you know. You have some great highs and you have some deep lows, but those are the things that build your character. So when you know your story and you're firm in who you are, you know your truth, those are the things that make for great music and great collaboration. So put that on paper, put that, you know, record that in the studio and let that carry your career. I know this industry, especially now with social media being a driver of like getting exposure.
Yeah.
It's easy to compare yourself to someone else's life and what they're doing and how their formula worked for them. But that's exactly that. It's for them. So you create what's for you and you do the thing that speaks to your truth. And that's what's going to connect with audiences. And that's also what's going to get the attention of executives like myself. Because if there's one question that I know my peers at Empire ask is, what makes you different? What makes you different? If you don't know your story, then of course you're susceptible to people coming in and changing your narrative and making it become something that, you know, is just pure marketing instead of, you know, building a story and really connecting with the fan base. So that's number one, know your story. Second thing is to build your team. So people always ask, like, how do I get a manager? How do I get someone that can publish my music? How do I get the connections into the industry? Again, the collaboration, like you can't do everything by yourself. I do feel like artists have a tendency to think they know everything. And so that's why I don't do management, because listen, I can give you the tools, I can give you the knowledge, but you have to be the one to recognize, like, this is your strength over here. And then these people over here have their expertise in their strength. And to really listen to what what the experts and professionals have to say. And not everybody knows exactly what they're doing, but they do have some experience to offer. So build your team. You know, the best way to get someone's attention, you know, from an executive or from someone who works in the music industry is connection, right? So we don't necessarily accept unsolicited materials. I'm not an A&R. I get bombarded with music all the time, and it's like that's not my lane. But I know if it's good to connect you to the right person. But at the same time, build a relationship, build a connection, build a team, your team, so that you're starting to now build a reputation that people can trust and say, you know what? I know how hard this person works because I've been in the studio with them. I've been hitting the pavement with them in terms of marketing. You know, I know what their budget looks like, and based on their budget, they were able to do this. So that's also something to consider. Just be as creative as you can possibly be. One thing you don't want to do is just bombard executives with your music, or, hey, you know, I just released this thing, listen to this. And it's like, trust me, they've got millions of songs in their DMs right now. So you have to do something that's going to make it stand out. And if it's good, trust me, an executive's going to come to you. So let's just be clear on that. So build your team, you know, work you know, across before you're trying to, you know, reach the top, you know. Build your audience and your loyal fan base within your community as well. It's not about how many followers you have. You know, I know a lot of people think, oh, I gotta get my followers up. It's more about who's engaging, because you can have a million followers and no one streams your music. Nobody knows about you. They just saw your profile and decided to follow you. You know, it's about who you're engaging with. So the people that are showing up to your shows, right? Showing up to your performances,
Mhm.
Meet them when you're after your performance. Have a conversation with them. Ask them if they want to come to your next show. Ask them if they want to, download your song in front of you. Like, hey,
Yeah.
do you have my album playlisted right now in your playlist? You know, these are the kinds of things that you want to do, and that will help to bridge that connection with your fans. Be creative. Like I said, to there are so many avenues to reach an audience now. Like, you don't need the gatekeepers to help you with that. So
Mhm.
use those tools that are available. And when you're thinking about data, since that's my lane, you
Yeah.
can use data analytics to target the people that are actually listening to your music. So, for instance, I have a friend who most of their music is being streamed in Germany. And so I asked him, I was like, well, what would happen if you, excuse me, collaborated with um, a musician, artist, producer from
Mhm.
Germany? Now you're connecting with the fans from that area. And then it's like a nod to them that you see them and you're acknowledging them. So that will help to expand your audience. I also said, well, have you ever tried learning German? Because now you're breaking the language barrier when you're, I said, find some of the terms that are used out there, some of the phrases that are used out there that is, directly, recognized by German folk. And
Yeah.
like, I never thought of that. Yeah, I should do stuff. But you can use analytics, is what I'm saying, to target your audience and to expand your audience as well. So someone recently asked me, with data, how do you know what information is important and what information to throw away? And
Mhm.
what I always say is that you should go into looking at data in the form of a question, wanting it to answer a question that you have. So don't just go and explore. Well, you can obviously, but I think it just wastes time to just go in there and just look at information. It's, hey, what's the best way? Where should I put most of my money? If most
Mhm.
people are tapping into it from streaming, then obviously you want to make sure that you're building your catalog and putting on as many streaming platforms as possible. If your
Yeah.
income is coming from a specific territory, then you want to focus on the culture of that territory so that you can brand yourself with that. Use the information that's within those analytics to give you a focus on your energy and your resources. And then the final thing is, like I said before, just to believe in yourself, because this business has a way of wanting to change you. I mean, it's you're talking about placing value on something that's intrinsic. So as a creative, you have, this connection to your music, and now you're having to get other people to connect with it. And sometimes this
Yeah.
way to connect with it is by saying, hey, you got to place the gimmick on top of this, or you got to, do this that may not be within your comfort zone, or maybe completely different than your brand. So in order for you to refute that, you have to believe in yourself and know that the strategy that you have for yourself as an artist is what's going to propel you to the next step. You don't always need someone else to come in and bridge the gap for you, especially in this day and time where you have literally all the tools. You have all the tools. You may not have the money, which,
Mhm.
everybody has a side hustle. Everyone has a side hustle. So, it's about how invested are you in who you are, and do you believe in yourself enough to make other people believe in what you're selling as well? And that's anyone, music or not. Learning to believe in yourself and market yourself is important. So those
Got
are the
it.
tips
And
that I
so
have.
just to reiterate, right? Know your story, build your team, develop genuine connections and relationships. Please don't spam random people with your music and just be like, did you listen to this? Like, thanks. Build your fan base and community, engage loyal folks, and use data analytics to target that. Be as committed to them as they are to you. And I know a few folks in the audience just asked for any analytic platforms that you would recommend or tools that you would recommend for artists more specifically?
Sure. I mean, I feel like most of the digital platforms, streaming platforms, have some kind of analytics tools that are available. So I would use those first because they're the ones collecting the data for you. Streaming. If you're with a publishing company, I have built analytics tool within the system. So if you're a client, you can go to the portal and have access to that information to break down your royalties. Google Analytics, I know you have to kind of connect it to, maybe your website or platforms, but they give you insight into specific avenues of those platforms. So those are good tools too. Yeah, I feel like, and with social media, I know have their own tools as well. Instagram has a tool where you can, if you're set up as a professional, gives you a deep dive into who's having access. Maybe even if you have a link tree, I'm not sponsored by a link tree, but if you have any kind of link in your bio that gives you the ability to break down multiple different sites or platforms that you have, they also do analytics for you on that platform. And someone just saw someone asked about Chartmetric. So Chartmetric, I think, while it can work well for management teams, I have to take a further look into it. But if I'm not mistaken, it gives more comparative data. So like if you're an artist and you want to see what, how you're doing compared to another artist, Chartmetric might be able to help with that. It might give you an idea of how you measure up against other people that are being promoted. I'm not sure. I have to see more about how deep they go into their analytics, but I'm sure that they offer enough information there. If you want to learn to target an audience, you have that ability. But yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Completely. And so one last question before we wrap up this section of the event. Any last pieces of advice that you would give to our artists in the room or even our music industry professionals just wanting to really boost their levels or boost their careers to the next level?
Some last piece of advice I would give is, I mean, it just always goes back to like knowing who you are. Like, even I have had the space as a business professional more recently to explore the things that set my soul on fire. And I understand a lot of people don't have that privilege to be able to do that. Some people don't have the time either. Like, so let me be clear. I understand where I am in my life compared to a lot of people. But in every situation that I've ever been in, I've had something outside of work that helped me to be centered and maintain a level of balance between my work and my personal life. This business has a way of making those things collide. And so what happens is you don't have the time or the capacity to handle it all. So what I would give people just the final piece of advice is to find that thing that centers, right? Find that thing that gives you some kind of grounding and foundation. I don't care if it's family. I don't care if it's locking yourself in the room and listening to music for hours. I don't care if it's lighting incense. I don't care if it's, just create some kind of ritual for yourself that's going to help center you and bring you back grounded, because we're all head in the clouds type people. I'm sure I'm a big dreamer, so I'm sure I'm not the only one in here. And when your dreams aren't being, manifested quickly enough for you, it could seem like you're on a hamster wheel just going in circles, but you need a place that's going to center you. And so that's what I would give to the audience. Just find that thing, that ritual that's going to bring you back to focus, and that should help you, maintain a balance in your career.
Well, thank you for your words of wisdom and empowerment. If you gained something that you needed through this first section, unmute yourselves, give me a woo woo.
Woo, woo.
Woo, woo, woo. Oh, that's my favorite morning. My favorite sound in the mornings. Okay, phenomenal. So, as of this point, if you have any questions for Janisha, use the reactions button and the raise your hand feature. So, anyone who has a question, please feel free to use that. Okay, I saw Lottie raise her hand first.
Oh, hi.
Hello.
How's it going? Thanks so much for being here, Janisha. I appreciate it. I've been just soaking in all the wisdom. So thanks so much. So the question that I have for you is you're obviously someone who's like really busy just with like your main job, but then you also have like side projects and houses that you're working on. So what are some things that help you with either like prioritizing tasks or being able to like execute on all those things? Because it's so easy, I feel like, to get burnt out in the music industry.
Yes.
I feel like I've experienced that maybe like 3 times already. So any tips on that would be great.
The way my calendar is set up right now, I think it would make anyone's head explode. But I'm building my team, so that's number one. The ability to lean on other people for support is huge. I have a business partner for the seat, so a lot of what I'm doing is more about messaging, whereas her role is to really execute, and so we have the ability to lean on each other for support in that way. You know, I have a business manager, so someone who can do a lot of the outreach for me because I can only be one place at a time, you know. So I have, financial counselors, so I can just let them do the budgeting, let them handle it. So again, it's a team. It's a team effort. And then in terms of like how I don't like how I stay focused and prioritize, because there's so many businesses that I'm working on right now, it's really like, okay, extinguishing one fire at a time. Okay, one day at a time. And I'm only a human, so and no one's gonna die if I don't get something done today, right now. So I feel like it's just about giving myself some perspective, the overall picture, and grace and flexibility. Because I'm not a perfectionist, and well, in some ways I guess I am, but I'm not a perfectionist in how I expect to be superwoman and be able to handle everything by myself. As women of color, especially, I feel like we have the tendency to carry all of the weight and the burden of everything and everyone else's problems. But we have to learn how to ask for help. And that's just what it is. Yes. How do I manage it? I have a team, people that I can lean on for support.
That is the answer I needed. Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Thanks, Lottie. Cool. Kingston, want to ask your question?
Yeah, hello. I recently saw someone post, was an independent artist, and I'm not too sure I understand what that was. I guess I should have reached out. They were asking for people to license their music. Is this a new thing where, I don't know, maybe something like it wouldn't be an NFT, but they didn't use that language. But is this a trend, a new trend where artists are, usually hear, hey, I've got a new song, go stream it. But this was, DM me for licensing my music.
Yeah, I think because there's so many different ways for people to make music. Sorry, not just make music, but for revenue streams in this business, it could be something new. You can have people license your music yourself without having access to a major music company. So that is part of the independent music ecosystem now. And that's what I was saying earlier, as far as, you don't actually need a major company to back you these days, unless it's purely for financial reasons, right? You have a lot of the tools to do the distribution, to do the marketing, to do the outsourcing of services, or label services. So I wouldn't be surprised that people are like, hey, you can license my music through this platform, because that's the new that's just what it is now. Like you can be an independent artist. I don't know. Was that answer to your question, or was there something specific to the format that you're asking?
No, that answers it. Thank you. And thank you for your time. I'm learning a lot.
Thank
From
you.
your participation. Nice meeting you as well.
Thank you. No, I think it's really interesting as someone in tech, like all the new stuff that are becoming licensable. So the NFTs, like you mentioned, that and cryptocurrency being in that arena, you know, the metaverse now being a place where we can experience live music, which is not really live, but I guess you get the feeling that you're there. So it could be, I don't know. But there's so many different new formats and avenues to exploit music. I do feel a little bit more of there not being enough regulation in those spaces just yet, and that's what makes it exciting. But once there is more regulation on it, how fruitful will those avenues be? I think we'll have to stay tuned to see.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kingston. We actually had a question from Instagram Live as well, because we have a platform on there, very similar to Kingston's question. So for Samir, they asked about how and where to find funding. And Janishia, I know that you've talked about a few platforms where you provide grants. So do you have any insight for an artist who wants to find funding?
It depends on what funding you're looking for. So
right.
The foundation is specific to providing access to the music industry. So not necessarily promoting an artist, it's more about professionals and giving them an opportunity to enter into the music business. So those grants are more about, like, if you're a woman of color in the music industry, the likelihood of you taking out student loan debt in order to gain your education and enter into the music business is very high. So we'll offer an opportunity to pay off a part of your student loans. That's part of that situation. Now, if you're talking about funding for an artist specifically, are you talking about funding for marketing? Are you talking about funding to for distribution? Are you talking about funding for merchandise? Like so many different things. Are you talking about funding to create a digital presence within the metaverse? Like you got to be a little bit more specific about it, because every business does something different.
Right.
And use artists. I would say there's so many platforms out there right now that offer some kind of like funding feature as an independent artist. If you're signed up to their platform, they'll do like an analysis on your current and past earnings to determine how much money they can offer you or advance you for future. So just there's a lot of information. Sorry, my printer decided to start out of nowhere. But yeah, there's so many different resources available to the independent artists. You just have to do your research.
Got it. Danielle asks, what's the name of the grant for women executives that you spoke about earlier?
So the nonprofit organization is called Juke Joint Foundation. You can find it at jukejointfoundation.org. And yeah, we're expanding right now, and we're building the platform for students and music business professionals. So if you're someone who has worked in the music industry and is looking for support, you can join that platform. We offer networking opportunities, mentorship opportunities, and access to grants and scholarships if you're a student or a music business professional.
All right, thank you, Janishia. Diamond, I see your hand is raised. Do you want to ask your question?
Hi, yes. So first of all, thank you for hosting this and speaking with us. I know you're very busy. Thank you guys for hosting this. And also, so when you were talking about splits with producers earlier, I actually have a question about that, because I got asked that actually a couple of days ago. And that was kind of new to me, because usually when I want to do exclusive rights for a beat, in the past, just my past experience working with producers, I usually pay an upfront fee just to get the exclusive rights. But this producer, he was like, oh, well, I'll take a fee and then I'll do 50-50 splits. And I was kind of weary about that because I'm like, why are you wanting 50-50 splits when, you know, I'm the writer? So wouldn't I want like 100% of the song that, you know, I wrote?
Right. So if you already purchased the exclusive rights, that means that you have the right to exploit the music however you want. So it wouldn't necessarily be a fee attached to that. So I'm not a legal person, so you might want to take that up with your counsel or your attorney, but you know, it's not typical that someone would ask for a fee and then a portion of the rights as well. At least if it's an exclusive, if it's not an exclusive contract, you know, then you'd have the opportunity to negotiate the splits of the song. But if they're literally saying you're paying for exclusive rights, that means you have ownership.
Does that help,
So I would
Diamond?
follow your gut on that one, or find counsel.
Okay, thank you.
All right, great. Thanks, Diamond. Alrighty, Dwayne, I see you.
Hello. I appreciate you
Hello.
guys having me. I'm not sure why my camera is doing this blackout thing, but let's roll with it. Yeah, so I'm actually I want to say thank you guys for the chance to speak to you and learn from you first thing first. But I'm a songwriter producer in LA, and I'm looking to place records with major artists, right? So I know every artist says this, but so let's say this is a hypothetical situation. Let's say I'm making extraordinary music that is either at or above industry level standard, right? How do I grow my network of A&Rs or get my music in front of more music executives, people that can hear my record? And basically, I want to do what Hitmaker does at Empire, right? He makes songs, he places them with Chris Brown or Jeremiah or whoever it may be. How do I take my music and get it to more music executives that can help me get those placements?
It's so interesting because that question always talks about like how do you get access to the change makers, essentially people that can actually make things happen for you as a creative. And it's always to me about just building your network. Like honestly, I feel like in LA, everyone's connected like to at least two people that could get you a connection to someone to listen to your music. But it's also about collaborating with performers who are actually out there, who can play your music in front of audiences. And that way, the people like me that are showing up to the shows hear your music in the space that it's meant to be heard. Yeah, I think it's about building your network. It's about working and collaborating with people that are actually doing the work, that are actually putting their music out there. We have a tendency to work with our friends who are in the same spaces that we are. Like you're a producer, you know, you might have a friend that they're also producing and writing, but their music doesn't go anywhere because y'all are just in silos inside your houses. You need to get your music out there, right? So
right, of course,
put it in the hands of an artist who's actually performing, who's actually being out there, putting their music out there, and that will give the music the opportunity to flow through the ether for people to hear it and for the executives to now experience it where it should be.
Okay, so much more of an organic approach, which is, you know, of course, I'm open to that. Is there a more direct approach to get straight to A&Rs or executives?
If you're saying like, is there an avenue to submit your music? Like, you know, if you happen to network with an A&R and they say, hey, yeah, I'm open to submissions. You know, there's a lot of producers and engineers out there as well, and I see them all the time in my network that they'll just put it in their social media. Hey, send me beats or send me music. That gives you the opportunity to send it to them. What I don't like is, you know, people thinking that your music is special all of a sudden out of the million of songs that are being submitted in my DMs or my
Right, of course.
You get what I'm saying? So
Of
there,
course.
unfortunately, the only like direct approach would be if someone is asking for it, or like organically, the music is in the hands of people who are actually out there performing it, and like a DJ. You know, if you have a friend that's
Absolutely.
a DJ, you know, hey, play
Right.
my
This is the
song.
old school way. I love it. No,
It's
but
organic, but honestly, that's the thing that that is the way that executives will tap into the music. They're out here in these streets listening.
right. I'm
So
old school, so that's why I'm actually asking, because I feel like the game is starting to change, of course, with the internet, changing the entire landscape. So I appreciate the information. That was very valuable. Thank you.
thank you.
Thanks, Dwayne. We'll take 2 more questions. So Riza, go for it.
Hey there. Like everybody else,
Hey.
also thank you for your time. I had a few questions, but I'll stick with the one that's actually about publishing. So I myself, I would say I'm an independent publisher because I have my own entity. Can't talk right now, and I have the admin kind of going through Song Trust. Excuse me. So I kind of know, like within publishing, a lot of it is trying to getting yourself into like songwriting, I guess, rooms and kind of like stuff along those lines. So as somebody who's independent, I guess my question is also, I guess, along the lines of like, building a team. How do you get yourself within those spaces as to like to better, I guess, shop your own work and even give yourself an opportunity to write for other people as well? Because I'm interested in doing that, but doing everything independently. And then I do have like a sync deal with somebody else, but it's like that's within my own music, and of course that's also a long game itself. So I guess trying to figure out how to continue to keep the wheel moving, if that makes sense.
Well, I mean, with anyone, you have to think of yourself as a business, right? So it's about the strategy. Have you written down a strategy for yourself as a business?
Yeah.
So, then that strategy should include, like, first of all, what avenues you want to hit first, right? And then prioritize those, knock them down one at a time. In terms of the networking part of it and connecting with people, I mean, I'm sure you're affiliated now with one of the performance rights organizations. I know there are plenty of conferences and expos and showcases and events that happen where they literally do what you're doing, where they're connecting people in the industry to other artists or people that you can collaborate with. So it's really about the relationships, right? And finding time to cultivate those relationships and create the synergy so that when you're trying to move a product from one aspect to the other, like whether you're trying to move it from, okay, it's being streamed now, how do I go into sync licensing? Like you said, you'll now have a connection, one that you cultivated that has the experience and the relationships in the sync world to move it. You get what I'm saying? So and honestly, I wish there were a different answer, because that sounds like all of the other answers that I've given about just building connections and creating relationships, but authentically. It's really about being intentional with those relationships, because you can create, you can grab someone and follow someone on Instagram, but that doesn't mean they'll give you the opportunity to tap into their network and create something meaningful with them. You have to really put yourself out there and say, hey, I see what you're doing. This is what I'm doing. How can we collaborate? How can we build with one another? And one thing leads to the other. Like that, I wish there was a different answer. I wish there was like a more like formula, but that's really what it is. In my experience, that's what it's been. Just creating real genuine connections and relationships with people. Being out there, like going to these events, like that's what they're for, so that you can network. But when you have to be intentional about it.
For sure. Yeah, that makes sense. So definitely seen those events too. And I also I'm in Minnesota, so I think I'll be trying to find ways to like either virtually do that or see if I can make my travels. So I definitely hear that though. So I appreciate the feedback.
And no problem. And I do consulting on the side. So if you wanted to get more information or insight into specifically how to strategize, I'm happy to offer that. I mean, you can check me out at pubworldsclean.com and book some time with me, and I'll be happy to help move that along.
For sure. I'll look into that. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks, Riza. Last question, Jamal. Hey.
Hey, how's it going? I appreciate you guys taking so much time to open up this room to individuals that want to come and network and learn more about the music industry. So I just wanted to say, because I see like your title here is in the form of integrations, because I work for a company called Influr, and we're very big on influencer marketing. So we're doing campaigns with Universal Music, Sony, Warner. We have some really great results, and we're kind of coming to the US as well with it. And I just wanted to see your thoughts on integrating influencer talent, and how important is that for even those in the room that are maybe artists and they want to get their stuff out there, and using influencers with massive followings to promote their TikTok challenges and things like that. Like, what is your experience with that as it comes, as it pertains to Empire?
So I'm not on the marketing team, so I'm not exactly sure how they would feel about it. I'm sure though, if you reached out to someone, or if you wanted to provide more information about what that even means, using influencer to drive profit, I don't know. I'll say that in terms of Empire and the kinds of talent that they have on their roster, it's very much leaning towards people that are from the Bay Area, because Ghazi Shami himself is from the Bay Area, and part of his mission is to expand the music market there. We're obviously in different territories around the world as well, but breaking open genres like, that were underrepresented. Let's say Afrobeats is one genre that is now on the charts because we're investing in that region of the world. Or let's say country music has been out there forever, but we don't see many people of color being represented in that genre. That's something that I know Empire invests heavily in. So I don't know necessarily what the feelings would be about using influencers as a way to drive profits, but I'm sure, there's a dialogue that could be had, and, an analysis on what that even means for us in terms of profitability. So,
Okay.
why don't you send me an email and I can find out for you?
Sure thing. Yeah, I just added you on LinkedIn right now.
Great. Awesome.
Talk soon. Thank you.
Thanks, Jamal. Thanks, Janishia. And so with that concludes our audience Q&A. Once again, if you enjoyed today's event, unmute yourselves. Give us one last woo woo. Woo woo. Okay. Let's go. All right. Well, massive thank you to you, Janishia. Thank you so much for spending your Saturday with us and providing so much great insight and resources and everything in between. Thank you to everyone in the audience for being here and choosing to spend your Saturday with us. Jordan, I know we've got a few events coming. Want to quickly come on and share those?
Of course. First, I'd like to say thank you, Janishia, again for being here. I always love having Black women on our platform. It's really great to see. And thank you, everyone. Yes. Our upcoming events, we have 2 VIP events coming up. One on the 3rd of September, brain fog, and then the 8th. So our 8th event will be about Music Sync. We'll have So Stereo. So all of our VIP people, we'll see you there. And then on the 17th of September, we'll be talking about music journalism. Hope to see y'all there.
Thanks, Jordan. Appreciate it. So thank you again, Janishia, for spending your Saturday with us and for kickstarting our Powerhouse Women in Music series. It's truly an honor to have someone like you on board. So thank you all. Have a happy rest of your Saturdays, and we will